Hey, Soul Stories fam! We're about to begin a brand new love journey. Please comment on where you're watching from so we can see that our Soul Stories family is all around the world. The light inside the small diner spilled a faded gold across the wooden counter. The crooked Pie of the Day sign still hung by one hinge, as if no one cared enough to fix it anymore. Outside, rain fell like strands of silver thread, weaving over Cedar Grove's main street, blurring the line between real and dream. Olivia Brooks wiped the same table for the third time, though it already gleamed. The scent of old coffee, the clatter of cutlery, and the ticking clock above the soda machine composed a quiet symphony for people who had forgotten how to hope. She glanced at her phone. No messages. Only the last text she'd sent that morning. "Chloe, please. I just need to borrow it for the hospital deposit. Sophie's surgery is this week. I'll pay you back." Three dots appeared for a second, then vanished. Her shift ended at midnight. Olivia untied her apron, slipped on her faded denim jacket, and stepped out into the drizzle. The town slept. Only a few lonely street lamps and a distant train whistle kept her company. The phone buzzed. For a heartbeat, she hoped it was Chloe. It wasn't. The hospital. "We're sorry, Miss Brooks," the receptionist said gently. "Without the deposit, we can't schedule the operation." "Please, just a few more days," Olivia begged. "My sister will die if we wait." "I'm truly sorry, but it's hospital policy." The call ended, colder than the rain. Olivia sank to the curb, knees soaked through her jeans, hands covering her face. She was only 26. 2 jobs, a damp rented room behind a laundromat, and now, not enough to keep her only family alive. Sophie's voice echoed in her mind, soft and faint. "Don't cry, Liv. I'm okay." But okay didn't exist in a world of heart monitors and $120,000 bills. Across the street, 2 girls huddled under a bar awning, lighting cigarettes and laughing. Their voices carried through the rain. "See that guy with the black Mercedes? He paid a whole stack just to talk all night. Heard it was 10 grand last week. 10,000. One night." Olivia froze. Her heart thudded painfully. She hated herself for even listening. But desperation is a cruel teacher. The next night she returned to that corner. The rain had stopped, but the wind still howled through the trees. Olivia stood beneath a yellow streetlight, hands buried in her coat pockets. She had tried to look the part, borrowed an old black dress Chloe once wore to college, brushed on a faint layer of lipstick. Yet when she caught her reflection in the shop window, all she saw was fear. "For Sophie," she whispered, "just this once." Cars passed now and then, headlights flashing across her face. Every set of beams made her flinch. Half an hour passed, no one stopped. Each minute, another thread of courage. Then came a smooth, heavy engine. A black Mercedes glided up to the curb and stopped. The window rolled down. A low, rough male voice. "Out here this late? What are you doing?" Olivia turned away. "Nothing that concerns you." The man chuckled. The streetlight caught his face. Sharp lines, pale eyes deep as the night behind him. He smelled faintly of whiskey. His tie hung loose, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. "I'd guess you're waiting for someone. Think what you want." He tilted his head, eyes never leaving her. "Adam Vance. I'm not used to being ignored." The name hit her like a spark. She knew it was the youngest CEO of Vance Tech, Wall Street's Silver King. He leaned back, voice quiet and cold enough to sting. "How much for one night?" The question landed like a slap. Olivia bit her lip, meeting his gaze. "Enough to save my sister's life." For a heartbeat, something flickered across his face. Surprise, pity, then nothing. Adam gave a small nod and opened the car door. "Get in." She hesitated, pulse pounding. "You don't even know who I am." "Doesn't matter," he said flatly. "I only know you need money." Olivia's hands trembled. Sophie's pale face flashed through her mind, the doctor's words replaying. "Without the deposit, we can't operate. 1 step. 2. The car door closed behind her. Inside, the air smelled of new leather and whiskey. City lights smeared gold across the window glass. Olivia stared outside, lips pressed so tight they bled. Adam drove without speaking. His face was unreadable, but his grip on the wheel was too firm. "What's your name?" he asked. "Olivia." "And your sister?" "Sophie, 19. He gave a slight nod. You shouldn't be doing this. And you shouldn't be buying it, she replied, voice shaking. Silence fell between them. The car stopped in front of the Belladonna Hotel, its glowing facade like a heaven reserved for people who could afford to sin. Adam stepped out first, standing beneath the awning. You can still walk away, he said quietly. Right now. Olivia tightened her grip on her purse and stepped into the light. I'm already too late for that. He said nothing more, only turned toward the elevator. Olivia followed, her heart beat loud as a funeral bell. In the mirrored walls, she saw a stranger. Wet hair, red eyes, lips trembling. One night, she whispered to herself. Just one night. The elevator chimed. Warm light spilled out. The rain faded behind them. Adam poured a drink, his tone low and calm. Do you really believe one night with me can save someone? Olivia's fists clenched until her knuckles whitened. No, but I don't have another choice. Outside the window, rain began again, each drop falling like seconds of borrowed time. Adam watched her for a long, quiet moment before murmuring, Come here. The soft click of a lock followed, marking the beginning of a bargain that would change both of their lives forever. Inside the spacious Belladonna Hotel suite, golden light pooled across the polished wooden floors, reflecting the silhouettes of two figures from different worlds. Outside, rain hammered against the windows, as if trying to knock on someone's conscience. Olivia stood still at the edge of the bed. Her hands trembled. She had never imagined herself here, inside a room so luxurious that even the curtains probably cost more than her monthly wages. On the table, a half-empty bottle of wine gleamed under the light. Adam Vance, the man the entire city called the Silver King, was removing his watch. His tie hung loose, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar. His eyes were sharp, yet they held no fire. Only the cold emptiness of steel beneath the glow. Would you like something to drink? His voice was low, rough, lazy. Olivia shook her head, fingers clutching the hem of her dress. No, thank you. He studied her for a second. Too young. Eyes too honest to fake. Still afraid. A first-timer, he thought. Someone who'll disappear by morning. First time? Yes. You can still walk away. I can't. Adam raised a brow, faintly intrigued. Why not? Because someone's waiting for me to save her life. The air thickened. The rain hit harder. Olivia bit her lip. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Please, make it quick. Adam didn't answer. He just stared at her for a long time, then turned away to pour another drink. You can still leave right now. And go back to the hospital to watch my sister die? Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. A breath escaped him, half sigh, half surrender. You don't understand this world, Olivia. I do, she said, tears brimming. It only understands money. He set his glass down and walked toward her. The distance between them shrank. Olivia closed her eyes, heart racing, hands gripping her dress. Whiskey and oak mingled in his breath. A shiver traced her spine. She didn't know if it was fear or if something inside her was breaking apart. Then darkness swallowed everything. The next morning, a pale sliver of sunlight slipped through the curtain, landing on wrinkled white sheets. The rain had stopped, leaving behind only a damp scent of dawn. Olivia opened her eyes. The room was empty. Adam was gone. On the table lay a neatly signed check, Adam Vance, and a number that made her hands tremble. $120,000. She picked it up, fingers shaking. The night replayed in her mind like a broken reel. Every glance, every breath, every moment she'd fought back tears. Beside the check was a small note with just 4 handwritten words. For her life. She pressed the check to her chest as tears spilled down her face. Thank you, even if you'll never forgive me. She got dressed, tied her hair, and put on her silver necklace again. When she bent to grab her purse, the bracelet slipped from her wrist and fell to the floor, unnoticed. A faint drop of blood still stained the sheet. Olivia left the room so quickly that the receptionist barely managed to call after her. Miss, you forgot? Keep it, she said without turning back. 3 hours later, at Cedar Grove Hospital, Olivia stepped up to the billing counter, shivering from the cold, clutching the check in both hands. The clerk looked up, eyes wary. taking in the red-rimmed eyes, damp dress, tangled hair. I'd like to prepay for Sophie Brooks's surgery. Do you have insurance? No, but I have this. She handed over the check. The clerk blinked at the figure, stunned, then called for the on-duty doctor. Within minutes, the operation was arranged. Olivia stood in the hallway as they wheeled Sophie's gurney past. The wheels screeched softly on the floor. She held her sister's hand one last time. You're going to live, Sophie. Even if I'm no longer who I was. The operating room doors closed. The red light above the entrance flickered on. Olivia slid down the wall, tears mixing with cold sweat. Outside, the wind was rising again, carrying the scent of rain and antiseptic. A storm was coming. Elsewhere, in the luxury suite of the Belladonna, Adam woke to sunlight slicing across his face. He sat up, the weight of last night's drink still heavy in his head. The room was silent, filled only with the ticking clock and the faint smell of wine. He called out once, no answer. The sheets were cold. On the floor, a faint smear of blood. Beside it, a small silver necklace. He picked it up. The pendant bore delicate engraving. O. Brooks. Adam stood still for a long moment, the chain tight in his fist. A heaviness settled over his chest. God, he whispered, barely audible. She was telling the truth. He looked out the window. The sky was again heavy with clouds, warning of more rain. And for the first time in years, Adam Vance felt something disturbingly close to guilt. 2 weeks passed. Adam Vance still couldn't focus on work. Meetings blurred into meaningless noise. Numbers, contracts, projects, all drifted past him like water over stone. Every night he dreamed of those eyes, dark, trembling, filled with both fear and defiance. Each morning he woke with the same feeling, heavy and hollow. The girl was gone, as if she had never existed. But the silver necklace on his desk remained, catching the morning light. He had picked it up countless times, turning it over between his fingers. On the back, a small engraving read, O. Brooks. One initial, one surname, and a haunting he couldn't escape. Adam told his assistant to clear his schedule, then drove toward the outskirts of town. He didn't know where he was going, only who he was trying to find. A part of him wanted to believe he could, that she was real, flesh and blood, not just a ghost from a drunken night. That night in a bar pulsing with loud music and purple lights, Adam met Leo Parker, his best friend from college, and the only man who dared to speak plainly to him. You look like hell, Vance. Maybe I actually saw a ghost. Another one of your late-night girls? Adam set his glass down, his voice rough. Not like them. She was different. Leo raised an eyebrow. Name? Olivia. At least I think so. Leo glanced at him, then at the necklace Adam had laid on the table. Let me see that. Adam told him everything. Short, unembellished, unflinching. Just a deal between two lost souls. Then he woke up. She was gone, leaving behind blood and guilt. Leo stayed silent for a while, then pulled out his phone. I've got someone in the Citizen Records office. They can check it out. You're sure about the engraving? O. Brooks, positive. 3 days later, Leo sent the results. Chloe Brooks, 26 office employee, New York City. Olivia Brooks, 26, unemployed, Cedar Grove, Ohio. Adam stared at the 2 lines of data, his chest tightening. 2 names, 2 worlds apart. Ohio, he muttered. Cedar Grove. But reason spoke up inside him. Impossible. She had been staying at the Belladonna Hotel. A broke girl from Ohio couldn't afford that. Chloe, from the same city, close in age, made far more sense. He leaned back in his chair, eyes closed, gripping the necklace tightly. If the woman he sought was Chloe, then Olivia was just a coincidence, a random twist of fate. Late at night in his apartment on the 40th floor, Adam opened his laptop. The glow from the screen washed over his face, weary yet resolute. He searched for Chloe Brooks on social media. Dozens of results appeared, but only one matched New York, and her face looked strikingly like the woman from that night, or at least close enough to make his heart skip. He stared at her profile picture, a faint smile, brown hair, deep eyes, and for a fleeting moment, he believed it was her. believed it so much it hurt. His fingers hovered over the message box. 10 seconds, 20. Then he typed, "Olivia, it's Adam. I owe you an apology." His fingers trembled as he pressed the send button. The screen stayed silent. No scene, no reply. Adam leaned back, eyes drifting to the city drowning in fog. Outside, buildings glowed like thousands of restless souls, just like him. He pulled the necklace from his pocket and clenched it in his palm. "If you're real," he whispered, "give me a sign." Across the city, in a small apartment, Chloe Brooks's phone lit up in the dark. She stared at the message, a faint smirk curling her lips. "Adam Vance," she murmured, eyes glinting with calculation. "Maybe my luck just turned." She tapped reply. "Hi, Adam. Yes, it's me." And just like that, a single mistake began, one that would change 3 lives forever. Chloe Brooks's phone buzzed as she sat in a cafe on Lexington Avenue during her lunch break. A new message. "Olivia, it's Adam. I owe you an apology." Her brows furrowed, fingers sliding across the screen. The name Adam sparked a memory. Vance Adam Vance, the young billionaire, CEO of Vance Tech, whose face had just graced the latest cover of Forbes. Chloe tilted her head, a glimmer of calculation flickering in her brown eyes, as if she had just found a winning lottery ticket. "Olivia," she murmured, a sly smile forming. "Not bad, little sister. But this time I won't let the opportunity slip." That afternoon, Chloe sat before the mirror in her bathroom, reapplying lipstick, selecting a sleek, fitted dress, and spritzing perfume on her wrists. The woman who stared back from the reflection was no longer a tired secretary. She was someone stepping into a high-stakes game. When Adam called, his voice was low and sincere. "I'd like to see you to talk." "The Madison Cafe, 7 p.m. "Sure, I want to talk too." Chloe closed her eyes briefly when he called her "you" in that gentle tone. To him, it was a casual address. To her, it was the confirmation that the game had begun. That evening, the rooftop cafe of the Madison was bathed in lavender dusk. Adam sat near the window in a simple gray shirt. When Chloe entered, he immediately stood, his expression soft with surprise. "Olivia," he said quietly. Chloe drew a steady breath, her voice trembling just the right amount. "You still remember me?" Adam nodded. "I owe you more than an apology." She bowed her head, hiding a small, victorious smile. Handsome, rich, guilty. Sometimes fate really does have a sense of humor. "That night, I was desperate," Chloe began, voice slow and faintly hoarse. "My sister was dying. I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I had money I could save her, but I chose the wrong way." Adam sat still, face shadowed by regret and sorrow that softened into something gentler. "You don't have to explain, Olivia. I'm the one who should be sorry." "No, you don't understand," she whispered, fingertips brushing the edge of the table. "I don't deserve forgiveness. But Sophie, my sister, she still needs her medicine." At the mention of Sophie, Adam opened his briefcase and pulled out a checkbook. "I can't change what happened," he said, signing quickly. "But you deserve a chance to start over." He slid the check across the table. The number gleamed, $250,000. Chloe swallowed hard. Her hand trembled slightly, but her voice stayed calm and sweet. I can't take this." "Don't think of it as pity," Adam said, his gaze so sincere she had to look away. "Think of it as an investment in someone who deserves her life back." Chloe bit her lip, lowered her head, and after a long pause, whispered, "Thank you, Adam." 3 weeks later, on Bedford Avenue in lively Brooklyn, a brand new sign glittered in the afternoon sun. Chloe's Atelier. The boutique was small but elegant, with glass walls, oak shelves, warm lighting, and the faint scent of French perfume. Chloe stood in the middle of her new kingdom, dressed in white silk, her smile wide and satisfied. "From now on," she told her assistant, who was hanging dresses, "my life will be different." She hired staff, signed contracts with young designers, and launched her first social media post. Chloe's Atelier, fashion for women who know they deserve more. Within hours, it gathered hundreds of likes. That evening, sitting in her boutique's tiny office, Chloe opened her phone. 2 unread messages glowed on the screen. Olivia. I'm okay. Sophie's recovering. I miss you. Sophie. Thank you, sis. Without the money, I wouldn't have been able to make it. I owe you my life. Chloe read both, then tapped delete. I don't owe anyone anything, she whispered. Then her phone rang again. Adam. How's the boutique? Perfect, she replied softly, her tone syrup sweet. All thanks to you. I just wanted to make sure you're doing well. You deserve a new life. Chloe smiled, her eyes glinting with quiet cunning. I already have one, Adam. A perfect beginning. Meanwhile, in Cedar Grove, hundreds of miles away, Sophie Brooks lay in her hospital bed, color slowly returning to her cheeks after the successful surgery. The heart monitor beeped in a steady rhythm. Olivia sat beside her, folding clothes into an old canvas bag. Her coat was plain, her hair tied back, her face tired but bright. Where are you going? Sophie asked, voice still weak. To find a job. Maybe in the city. I need to start over, Soph. She squeezed her sister's hand and smiled faintly. You'll live, Sophie. Let me handle the rest. She glanced out the window. Early spring winds stirred the oak trees. The air smelled of damp earth and faint coffee. It's time I start again, Olivia whispered, closing the door behind her. In the city, one woman had lied her way into fortune. In the quiet town, another had lost everything but her dignity. Two paths diverged, but fate was already preparing for the moment they would cross again. New York City woke up to the sound of car horns, the smell of roasted coffee, and warm smoke from corner bakeries. On the crowded sidewalk, Olivia Brooks walked briskly, gripping her folder of job applications. She had left Cedar Grove behind, the old wooden house, the oak tree in the yard, and all the memories she could never touch again. All she had left were her will and a pair of hard-working hands. A large sign appeared above the Fifth Avenue skyline, Vance Tech, innovating tomorrow. Olivia swallowed hard, lifting her gaze. The skyscraper of glass and steel loomed above her, an entirely different world. She didn't know that this place was the very center of the universe of the man who had changed her life forever. Recruitment office, third floor. The woman at the reception desk looked over Olivia's papers, then gave her a quick once-over. The worn office dress, the scuffed shoes. Do you have any experience cleaning offices? I worked at the Cedar Grove Diner and at a hospital for a while. Good. We need someone to start right away. Hourly pay, morning shift from 6 to noon. Olivia bowed slightly, murmured a thank you, and accepted her new name tag. Olivia B. Cleaning staff. She clutched it tightly as if holding on to a chance. Small, temporary, but real. A new beginning. The first days at Vance Tech passed in silence. Olivia cleaned hallways, wiped glass, emptied trash bins, mopped floors, invisible to everyone except for the occasional polite nod. She saw countless people in sharp suits walking past her. Their steps were fast, their eyes were indifferent. Each time she saw the silver Vance logo on the wall, her chest tightened. Adam Vance. The name she tried to forget was everywhere, on business cards, on the elevators, in admiring whispers. They say the CEO's young, handsome, but cold as stone. He just funded an education project for underprivileged kids in Ohio. Ohio, one word, and her heart clenched. Monday morning, 7:30 a.m. Light rain streaked the office windows. Olivia had just finished mopping the floor on the 35th floor. The executive area. She had been told never to step into the CEO's office without permission. But today she needed to deliver the maintenance report for the water system. The door was slightly ajar. She knocked softly. No response. Exhaling, she stepped inside, placed the file on the glass desk, and turned to leave. Her hand brushed against a stack of papers, sending them sliding to the floor. Startled, she bent down to pick them up. At that exact moment, a deep male voice came from behind her. Who are you? She turned and met those eyes. Adam Vance stood there, white shirt, gray tie, coffee cup in hand. Morning light fell across his face, making his blue eyes even deeper. Time stopped. Olivia lowered her head, heart racing. I'm just cleaning, sir. As she bent down to gather the papers, Adam crouched too. One sheet fell between them. For a fleeting instant, their foreheads brushed. The only sound was the pounding of their own hearts. Olivia straightened, trembling, clutching the documents. Adam stared at her, eyes widening, as if seeing a ghost. "What's your name?" "Olivia." She swallowed hard, forcing her voice to stay steady. "Olivia Brooks." The air froze. "You said Brooks?" She nodded slightly. "Yes." Adam stared at her for a long moment. Every memory crashed back. The Belladonna hotel room, the check, the blood, the silver necklace. He stepped back half a pace, voice hoarse. "Then who the hell have I been helping all this time?" Olivia blinked, confused. I I don't know what you mean." He clenched the folder in his hand, torn between doubt and disbelief. "I met a woman. She said her name was Olivia Brooks. Said her sister was sick. Said she made a mistake. I thought she was you." She took another step back, lips trembling. "I didn't." But he moved closer, his voice low, filled with pain. "You really don't remember me?" The question sliced through the air like a blade. Olivia backed toward the door. "I don't know who you are. I'm sorry, I have to get back to work." "Wait, Olivia," he called out. She turned and ran down the hallway. People looked up, catching only a glimpse of the cleaning girl rushing past. Hair loose, eyes glistening, as if fleeing from her own past. Adam stood in the office, his hand still gripping the file. He didn't doubt it anymore. She was the one. Olivia pressed her back against the glass wall of the 35th floor corridor, her breath coming fast and hot, as if she'd just escaped a fire. Outside, the sky was darkening, layers of gray clouds stacked over Manhattan like morning veils. Far below, the city pulsed with life, but she stood frozen, trapped inside a carousel that refused to stop. The door creaked open. Adam appeared at the far end of the hallway, no longer carrying the detached expression of a CEO, accustomed to walking past hundreds of anonymous faces. His eyes now looked like those of a man who had just seen someone fall overboard and would do anything to reach them in time. "Olivia," he said softly, voice low and rough, "please don't run anymore." She lowered her head. For a moment, she almost turned away, but her shoes suddenly felt weighted with lead. She knew, if she ran this time, there would be nowhere left to hide. "The side conference room is empty," Adam said, gesturing toward a glass door at the end of the hall. "We can talk there. No one will interrupt." Olivia nodded faintly. The small conference room was softly lit, the curtains half drawn to let in streaks of late afternoon light. In the center stood a long table with two chairs facing each other. Olivia sat down, her fingers laced so tightly together they blanched. Adam closed the door and placed his phone face down, as if to prove he wasn't here to evade anything. "You can start," he said quietly. He didn't sit yet, choosing to stand beside the table, keeping a respectful distance. "I'm listening." Olivia's throat was dry. She swallowed hard, gathering the scattered shards of her story. "My sister, Sophie, has a heart condition," she began, voice trembling but clear. "The doctor said she needed surgery soon, or there'd be no guarantees. They needed a deposit, $120,000. She pressed her lips together. "My sister, Chloe, works as a secretary in New York. I called, I texted, but she said she couldn't. She was afraid of losing her job, of what people would say. I understood. I tried to handle it myself." She looked down at her hands. "I took extra shifts at the diner. I cleaned hospital floors. I tried to borrow. No one would lend. That night, I overheard two girls talking about men who paid a fortune for one night. I thought maybe that was the last ticket I had left." Wind slipped through the blinds, rustling the papers on the table. "You don't owe me an explanation," Adam murmured. "I'm not explaining," Olivia said quietly, eyes fixed on the table. "I'm telling the truth. I stood by the street. You stopped. I got in. I was shaking so hard I could barely speak. I told you, please make it quick." The next morning, the check was on the table. I took it to the hospital. Sophie had her surgery. She lived. Silence stretched thin, fragile enough to tear. "Thank you," she added, barely audible. "Even if you don't need to hear it." Adam pulled out a chair and sat across from her. Elbows on the table, fingers interlaced, he looked at her as if trying to memorize every word. "The necklace," he said finally, his voice gentler. "It was yours?" "Yes," Olivia nodded faintly. "A gift from my mother. I dropped it that morning." Adam reached into his jacket and placed a small velvet pouch on the table, sliding it toward her. "It's been with me these past 2 weeks." Olivia looked at the pouch as if a part of herself had just come home. She didn't open it, only rested her hand on top. "After that," Adam continued, "I tried to find you. The engraving said, 'O. Brooks.' The records brought up two names, Chloe Brooks in New York and Olivia Brooks in Ohio. I chose what seemed logical." Olivia blinked, not in surprise but in recognition of an old ache being reopened. "What did she say?" Adam exhaled, regret flickering across his face. "She said she was you. That the night was a mistake made out of desperation, that her sister was sick, that she wanted to start over. I believed her. I gave her money. She opened a boutique in Brooklyn. I thought I was making things right." Olivia gripped the velvet pouch tighter. Part of her wanted to defend her sister. She's family, after all. But another part bled quietly. The one who deserved the help wasn't seen, wasn't believed. "She's my twin sister," Olivia said, her voice steady. "We look alike. But we're not the same, at least not where it matters." Adam didn't flinch. He nodded slowly. "I know." Then lifting his gaze to meet hers, solid, unguarded, he said simply, "I'm sorry." 2 words, yet heavier than any justification. They dropped into the quiet room, rippling through the glass, through her heart. "You don't owe me an apology," Olivia whispered. "I was there that night. I took the check. I disappeared, and I stayed silent." "You stayed silent so your sister could live," Adam replied softly, as if afraid to break something fragile. "You didn't sell yourself, Olivia. You sacrificed yourself." The words struck deep, into the place she'd buried all her shame. Something loosened in her chest, like air finally returning after too long underwater. "I kept telling myself," she said, her voice cracking, "that I was a bad person. To save someone I loved, I traded away the part of me that my mother said I should never lose. But if I hadn't, Sophie would be gone. I chose her. I chose survival over purity, and every night since, I've hated myself for it." Adam leaned forward, not touching her, but resting his hands open between them. A bridge, not a boundary. "You're not bad, Olivia. Good people suffer most when they have to make cruel choices. It hurts because you still care." Her eyes shimmered. She turned away, swallowing hard. "I'll pay you back for the money you gave Chloe. She took my story and used it. But I won't let her suffer because of me," she blurted, almost instinctively. "Even if it takes a lifetime, I'll repay it." "Don't," Adam said immediately. "If you owe anything, owe it to your own life. Study work, reclaim what you lost, not with money but with time, with dignity." She fell silent. Somewhere outside, a helicopter cut across the clouds, its shadow sweeping past the window. For the first time, she looked at him long enough to see beyond the CEO armor, to the man underneath. Not the one who'd paid for a night to forget himself, but the one trying to piece back what he'd broken. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly. Adam drew a slow breath, eyes lowering, then lifting with quiet resolve. "Because I owe you the truth. Because I let guilt drive me to fix the wrong person. And," he paused, choosing his words, "because since that night, I can't look at her anymore. I only see your sister alive, and I see you sitting alone in that hospital hallway with no one beside you." Olivia's throat tightened. That image, the sterile corridor, white lights, cold plastic chairs, was the nightmare that still woke her at 3 a.m. "Maybe," she said faintly, "what I needed wasn't money. It was someone to believe I wasn't ruined." "I believe you," Adam answered, without hesitation. So fast it stunned her. Silence again. But this time it wasn't hollow. It was the stillness of two hearts finally speaking the same language. Carefully, Olivia opened the velvet pouch. Inside lay the old silver pendant. The scratched metal gleamed against her palm. She slipped it back around her neck, the final clasp of a long lost circle. Adam stood, walking slowly around the table. When he stopped before her, he kept a respectful distance, close enough for her to hear his breath, but not close enough to cross the line. He extended a hand, open, not a command, but an invitation. "Let me help you, Olivia," he said, voice low and steady. This time, the right way. Something inside her unlocked, a door that had been rusted shut for years. She looked at his hand, then up at his eyes. In them, she saw no pity, only a promise. She placed her hand in his. "Soul Stories fam, if you're watching on another channel, come home to us at Soul Stories, where tens of thousands of listeners and sharers come together." Adam Vance's penthouse sat on the top floor of a glass tower overlooking the Hudson River, where the night sky wrapped the city in thousands of glittering lights, and the April breeze drifted through open windows like the soft breath of rare peace. Olivia stood at the doorway, her hands clasped tightly together, as if letting go would make everything before her disappear. She had never stepped into a place like this. High ceilings, pale wooden floors, the faint scent of essential oils lingering in the air. "I just want you to have a place to stay while Sophie recovers," Adam said, his deep voice gentle. "There's a private nurse here, medication, and everything you'll need. No one will bother you." Olivia nodded slightly but stayed frozen at the threshold. I'm not sure this is right. Just think of it as your home, until things get better." She gave a small, uneasy smile. "I didn't think a CEO would want to share his home with a cleaning lady." "I'm not sharing," he said simply. "I'm inviting." His voice was calm, but it made her heart dip in quiet surrender. Sophie's condition had weakened again after surgery. Her small heart required constant monitoring. Adam hired an in-home medical team, arranged appointments with the best cardiologist, and personally signed every hospital bill. Olivia looked at the stack of paid invoices on the table, her voice barely above a whisper. "You didn't have to do this." "I know," he replied, "but I wanted to." From that day on, the silent penthouse began to breathe again. The sound of Olivia's footsteps in the hallway each morning, the aroma of soup she cooked for Sophie, and her gentle voice blending with soft jazz from the wall speakers. Adam still kept his distance. He never entered her room without knocking, and he never brushed her shoulder, even by accident. But his presence, steady, warm, quiet, made Olivia feel safer than any wall ever could. In the evenings, they often ate together in the open kitchen. She sat across from him, moving her utensils carefully like a guest at a formal dinner. He only smiled, pouring wine slowly. "You don't have to stay so guarded, Olivia," he said once. "I just don't want to owe anyone anything more." "Then let's call this repayment for the night I should never have let happen." She gave a small laugh, lifting her eyes to his. For the first time in months, her smile didn't hide. "You're not the man from that night." Adam set his glass down, eyes half teasing, half serious. "How am I different?" "That night, you were someone who only knew control. Now," she tilted her head slightly, "you listen." He nodded, his voice softer, almost a confession. "Maybe that's because of you." As time passed, the line between help and care grew increasingly blurred each day. Adam began leaving the office earlier, using the excuse that he needed to check Sophie's medication. But the truth was, he just wanted to see Olivia open the door and greet him with that quiet voice he'd grown used to. She made his coffee every morning black, no sugar, just the way he liked it. One afternoon, he placed a new phone on the counter in front of her. "So I can reach you easily." "I can't accept." "Don't say accept, Olivia. I'm connecting." She took the phone, her expression softening. Sometimes on nights when Sophie was asleep, Olivia would sit on the balcony, gazing out at the distant city. Adam would bring out 2 cups of tea, set one beside her, and say nothing. Their silence was never awkward. It felt like an unspoken pact, to coexist without needing to explain. One evening after the rain had just cleared, Olivia sat on the sofa, hair loose, a light blanket around her. Adam returned from a late meeting, loosening his tie, pouring himself some water, then pausing when he saw her smile faintly. "You know," she said softly, "I used to think I could never smile in a place like this." "Why not?" "Because I don't belong in it." Adam sat down across from her. The warm light softened his features, painting his face and lending a gentle edge to his usual composure. Maybe I don't belong here either, he said. I work here, I live here, but I don't really exist here. Olivia looked up at him, her eyes a mix of admiration and quiet disbelief. And now? Now there's someone who's made this place feel like home. She bit her lip, smiling shyly. You're not the man I met that night. Maybe that's because of you, he said again, his voice so warm it stilled her breath. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. No words, no touch. Yet something in the air between them had undeniably changed. The next morning, an online newspaper ran a headline. CEO Adam Vance's quiet life takes a gentle turn. Mysterious woman seen by his side. The photo. Adam pushing Sophie's wheelchair in the park. Olivia walking beside him, her hand brushing the breeze. Across the river, in her luxury boutique in Brooklyn, Chloe Brooks slammed the paper onto the table. Her coffee spilled, staining the image of the woman who looked exactly like her. That woman, she hissed, voice low and sharp. She's taken everything that should have been mine. Her eyes burned. The first spark of a new storm. That afternoon, Manhattan was painted in a pale shade of ash. Inside the penthouse on the 40th floor, Olivia was folding a blanket for Sophie when the doorbell rang. She stepped out to open it, thinking it was the delivery man with the medication. But the moment the door cracked open, her smile vanished. Standing there was Chloe Brooks. A black bodycon dress hugged her curves, her red lipstick slightly smudged, her eyes burning with something between pride and hatred. Chloe! Olivia took half a step back. Don't call me that, Chloe cut in, her voice sharp as a blade. I'm here to take back my life. Olivia froze. What are you talking about? Chloe's lips curved into a cold smile. You think I don't know? You're living in the home of the man who once loved me. You've stolen his sympathy, his attention, and the reputation I built. You took everything. The elevator doors slid open. Adam Vance stepped out. He stopped, his gaze shifting between the two identical faces, and immediately understood that something dangerous was about to unfold. Adam, Chloe said, smiling faintly, tell me, do you even know which one's real? He said nothing for a moment, then his eyes hardened. I do. The real one is the woman who didn't lie to me for money. Chloe froze, color draining from her face. What? What did you say? Adam took a step forward, slow and deliberate, each one carrying the weight of judgment. I know everything. You impersonated your sister to exploit my guilt, using Sophie's illness as a ticket to cash in. You thought I wouldn't find out. I have the transfer records, the messages, and the bank receipts. His voice was calm but sharp as steel. If Olivia hadn't told me the truth herself, I would have had you charged with fraud, Chloe. However, I didn't want to involve your entire family in court. I'm only giving you one chance, to walk away before this goes too far. The air turned solid, thick with tension. Olivia stood frozen, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Chloe laughed dryly, her eyes flashing with fury. A chance? Who do you think you are to give me that? If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even know Olivia existed. I'm the one who showed her to you. Adam's gaze cut through her, laced with exhaustion and contempt. You didn't show me anything, Chloe. You only showed me your greed. Chloe's laugh turned brittle, venomous. You're defending her now? That cheap little waitress? You'd really stand against me for her? Adam's tone was ice. Yes, because she has something you never will. Integrity. Chloe flinched. Her lips trembled. Her eyes cracked like glass under pressure. You'll regret this, Adam Vance. You never understood me. I only wanted to be loved. But maybe women like me are only meant to be despised. Olivia stepped forward carefully. Chloe, please don't do this. I don't want to lose you. Don't act innocent with me, Chloe snapped. I fought for everything in this city while you just cried your way into a man's protection. Adam stepped between them, shielding Olivia. His voice was firm. Leave, Chloe. I won't let you hurt her again. Chloe stared at him, a twisted smile tugging at her lips. Funny, I used to dream someone would say those words for me, but you never did. You only say them for her. She turned, grabbed her purse, and paused at the doorway. Keep her, Adam, but remember this, I won't disappear. The door shut behind her. The apartment fell silent. Warm light glowed over Olivia's face, streaked with tears. "She's still my sister," she whispered. Adam came closer, resting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I know, but family doesn't mean letting someone destroy you. If you can't hate her, then let me hate her for you. If you can't protect yourself, then let me do it." Olivia looked up, eyes filled with both gratitude and fear. "You don't have to do this." "I want to," he said softly. "Let me protect you from her." She lowered her head, lips trembling, wanting to say thank you, but the words caught in her throat. That night in Brooklyn, the lights of Chloe's atelier still burned long past midnight. She sat alone in the dark, clutching a silver necklace, the imitation of Olivia's. Outside, the red neon sign painted her face in ghostly hues. On the desk before her lay an open newspaper, a photo of Adam pushing Sophie's wheelchair, Olivia walking beside him with a gentle smile. Chloe stared at the image for a long time. Tears fell, but a smile slowly followed. "If I can't have his world," she whispered, voice cracking like glass, "then no one will." She clenched the necklace until blood welled between her fingers. Chloe's eyes darkened, deep, bottomless, like the mouth of a storm. And that was the moment the real tempest began. Autumn arrived in New York like a quiet piano piece. Golden leaves drifted over the East River, their reflections falling upon the old arches of the Brooklyn Bridge, where streetlights shimmered like stars close to the ground. After long months, Sophie had fully recovered. She could run through Central Park without gasping for breath, her cheeks rosy again, like little flowers dancing in the wind. Olivia smiled more often now. Her voice no longer trembled at the word hospital. Thanks to the scholarship Adam had quietly arranged, she re-enrolled in her old digital design program. By day, she studied at the Brooklyn campus. By night, she worked part-time at Vance Tech's design studio, where Adam often stopped by unexpectedly, only to ask, "Have you eaten tonight?" She would smile and answer, "I had dinner with Sophie." And he'd reply, half joking, half sincere, "What about me?" They had learned how to laugh together. No longer two people from different worlds, but two wounds learning to heal side by side. That evening, Adam said he wanted to take a walk. Olivia didn't expect him to drive straight to the Brooklyn Bridge. The air was cool, the streetlights glowed gold, stretching into the distance like a road to forever. He got out of the car, walked around to her side, and offered his hand. Polite, yet with something unusual in his eyes. "Where are you taking me?" Olivia asked with a faint laugh. "To pay the biggest debt of my life." Her brows furrowed. "You don't owe me anything, Adam." "Oh, but I do." He took her hand gently, his warm fingers steady against the cold wind. "I owe you a thank you and a future." Before she could speak, he knelt down. Right there on the bridge, between the sound of distant traffic and the wind sweeping across the river, Adam opened a small box. Inside, a platinum ring caught the city's glow. Simple, yet radiant, like the woman it was meant for. "Olivia Brooks," he said slowly, each word sinking with his heartbeat, "you turned my guilt into forgiveness. You made a man who only knew control learn how to love." He looked up, his eyes bright as the night river. "You turned my guilt into grace. Say yes." Olivia stood still, breath breaking in the cold air. Tears spilled, not from pain, but from the rarest feeling of all, being chosen, not pitied. She nodded, smiling through tears. "Yes." Adam laughed softly, pulling her into his arms. The sound of distant cars, the river's gentle splash, the faint clink of their rings meeting, it all came together like a song closing every lonely night. A few days later, their photo spread across the internet. Tech CEO Adam Vance engaged a former employee. A modern fairy tale. Olivia hid in her classroom, blushing, while Sophie proudly announced the news to the entire Cedar Grove neighborhood. But no one knew that. In a quiet cafe in Queens, Chloe Brooks sat alone, her fingers brushing across her phone screen. The couple's smiling faces glowed from a news article, reflected in her dark, steady eyes. Her coffee had gone cold. She looked up, a faint smirk curling her lips. "Fairy tale, huh?" Chloe opened her laptop, logged into a hidden email account, and typed quickly. Subject: "Congratulations on your engagement." Body: "You might want to ask him about his blood test." She hit send, took a sip of coffee, and let the bitterness roll down her throat. Let's see how perfect you two really are, she whispered. That afternoon, Olivia was at the campus library when the email arrived. She read it once, her brows tightening. Ask him about his blood test. A joke or a warning? She almost deleted it, but her hand trembled. She remembered that night when Adam had cut his hand at home, how he quickly hid the wound and said, "It's nothing." Then another memory flickered. The medicine bottle in his cabinet, the label reading, "Prescription only." She tried to steady herself. "It's probably for blood pressure or stress," she whispered. But that night, back at the penthouse, suspicion turned solid. Adam was in the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear, writing something in his notebook. His voice was low, tense, urgent. "Yes, it's for a patient. Please send it tonight. No, it can't wait till morning." Olivia stood behind the glass partition, her heart beating quickly. The warm light touched his face, calm, composed, yet in his eyes she caught something new. Fear. She stepped back, the ring on her finger glinting under the light. Beautiful, but suddenly cold. "A patient," she whispered. "Or himself?" The wind outside hissed softly through the curtains. Inside her chest, something fragile, as thin as the first crack in glass, began to spread. Her phone vibrated again. Another anonymous email appeared. "If you love him, don't let him lie again." She looked up. Adam was turning toward her, smiling. "Want to go out for dinner?" he asked. Olivia nodded faintly, but her eyes stayed fixed on the glowing screen in her hand, where the warning blinked quietly, like a seed of doubt that had just begun to live. Olivia was sitting in the university library when an anonymous email appeared in her inbox. The sender's address was unfamiliar. No name, no details. Just one chilling subject line. "He's positive. He's hiding it because he knows you'll leave." She clicked it open. Inside were only a few short lines. No greeting, no signature, just a blurry photo attached. A medical test form. In the corner, the name A. Vance. Encircled in red, HIV reactive. Olivia stared at the screen, her heart thudding painfully in her chest. "No, that's impossible." Her hands began to shake. The image could be fake, but it looked terrifyingly real. And then, like dominoes falling, small details she'd once brushed off began clicking together in her mind. The antiviral prescription. Only label on a pill bottle he'd tucked deep in a drawer. The night he cut his hand and instinctively pulled away when she tried to touch him. That phone call she overheard. "Urgent refill for the patient. Don't delay this time." Suddenly, it all made cruel, devastating sense. Her phone buzzed. A message from Chloe. "You're so naive, Olivia. He doesn't love you. He pities you. Why do you think he rushed to propose? Because he knows he's running out of time." Olivia's vision blurred. Chloe had always been sharp-tongued, but she had never said anything that shattered Olivia quite like this. She set her phone down on the table and walked out of the library. The October air hit her like a wall, cold, damp, heavy. Wind tangled her hair as she whispered to herself, "If it's true, how long has he been living like this? Alone, carrying that secret, still smiling at me." She felt anger, heartbreak, and a kind of terror that came from love. That night, Olivia wandered along the Hudson River. The city shimmered below her like a galaxy spilled across the earth. She sat on a bench, staring at the dark water and its reflection of light, thinking of him, the man who had changed her life with both his wounds and his tenderness. "If he really is sick," she whispered, "he doesn't need my pity. He needs someone who stays." Tears slipped down her hands, salty and cold. Olivia didn't go home that night. She stayed until the first blush of dawn crept across the sky, then stood with a quiet resolve in her chest. Even if he had lied, she would not leave him. When she finally returned to the penthouse, Adam was standing by the window. Morning light brushed across his face, tired, calm, but still composed. He turned as soon as he heard her. His voice trembled slightly. "Where were you all night? I called you dozens of times. Do you know how worried I was?" She didn't answer. She just looked at him, long and hard, as if trying to read whether the glow in his eyes came from health or from a secret shadow. "I know, Adam," she said softly. "Know what?" About you, about what you've been hiding, about your illness. Adam froze. The words hit like a quiet blade. Who told you that? It doesn't matter. I just want you to know that even if it's true, even if you have HIV, even if you were afraid I'd leave, I won't. I'm staying. She stepped closer, tears glistening, but her voice steady. I'll take care of you. Unless you don't love me anymore. A long silence. Then Adam exhaled, closing his eyes as though swallowing a deeper pain than the accusation itself. When he opened them again, his gaze was softer and unbearably sad. Olivia, he said, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. I'm not sick. My uncle is. He's been living with HIV for years. I manage his medication. I kept it secret because it's his story, not mine to tell. Olivia's world tilted, everything in her unraveled into tears. Oh my God, I was so wrong. I doubted you. I doubted us. It's okay, he murmured, brushing her tears away with his thumb. If I were you, I'd be scared too. What matters is, you came back. She let out a sob, collapsing into his arms. I couldn't walk away. Even if you were sick, even if you lied, I'd still choose you. Adam held her tightly, whispering against her hair. And I'll never let anyone make you afraid again. Across the city, Chloe Brooks sat in her parked car, laptop open on her lap. On the screen, the email she'd sent now read, "Seen 2 hours ago." Her jaw tightened. The look in her eyes was no longer desperate. It was cold, calculating. She hurled her phone against the car floor. It shattered with a sharp crack. If lies don't work, she hissed through clenched teeth, then fear will. Outside, the streetlights flickered like warning flares across the boulevard. A silent signal that another storm was coming. And this time, it wouldn't just shatter trust. It would destroy everything built upon it. The night before the wedding, a light rain fell over Manhattan, tiny silver drops glittering on the glass windows of the Belladonna Hotel, where Olivia tried on her wedding dress one last time. The delicate white veil reflected the warm golden light, wrapping her like a wisp of mist, an almost tangible dream about to come true. Adam was still at the office, smiling at the photo she had just sent him, her shy smile, her fingers brushing the edge of the veil. Tomorrow, it's forever, he texted. Forever, she replied, adding a small heart emoji. But elsewhere, in the darkness of Brooklyn, Chloe Brooks stood before an abandoned warehouse near Pier 47. The dim light flickered against rusted containers. She pulled her hood lower, her voice cold. Bring the car here. 9:30, not a minute later. 2 burly men nodded. You sure about this? Chloe's lips pressed tight, her eyes burning with something between hatred and grief. I don't want to kill anyone. I just want her to know what it feels like. To lose everything. 10:15 p.m. Olivia stepped out of the hotel, carrying a small gift box meant for Sophie. The street ahead was deserted, the only sound the gentle patter of rain on the awning. A black van pulled up beside her, screeching to a halt. Before she could scream, a rough hand clamped over her mouth, smelling of leather, metal, and oil. The world spun and went black. 11:04 p.m. Adam's phone rang. On the other end, a distorted male voice through a modulator. We have your fiancé. 1 million in cash. Pier 47. Midnight. Adam's pulse crashed. Who are you? He shouted. You have 40 minutes. Click. He immediately called the police, demanding a SWAT trace on the number. Then he grabbed a briefcase of cash himself, jumped into his car, and tore into the storm. The rain lashed his windshield like shards of glass. 11:58 p.m. Pier 47 was silent except for the salty wind scraping across the docks. The streetlights shimmered weakly over the slick wood. Adam stopped the car, opened the trunk, and lifted out the briefcase. Each step toward the end of the pier felt heavier, like he was walking into the void. From the shadows, a woman's voice, hoarse, trembling with anger, cut through the air. Put it down, Adam. He froze. Chloe stepped forward, her black raincoat dripping, a gun glinting in her hand. Her eyes burned with a wild mix of hate and sorrow. Behind her, Olivia was tied to a chair, duct tape over her mouth, eyes wide with terror. Chloe! Adam's voice was raw. Don't do this! You're walking off a cliff. Chloe gave a bitter laugh, her voice cracking. A cliff? You talk like I've got somewhere left to go. You took it all, Adam. My reputation, my money, and the love I never even got to have. She moved closer, pressing the gun to Olivia's temple. You took everything from me. Now you'll pay to get it back. Adam tossed the briefcase onto the wet dock. Take it. Just let her go. Chloe let out a broken laugh. You really think she loves you? She just pities you, in the same way you pitied me. Both of you liars? No, Adam said steadily, his voice unnervingly calm. The only liar here is you, and I won't let you hurt her. Stop there, Chloe screamed. She pulled the trigger. The gunshot tore through the night. The bullet grazed Adam's shoulder, blood blooming bright beneath the light. He staggered, but still took one more step forward, shielding Olivia with his body. Olivia screamed through the tape. Stop, please! She's my sister! Chloe froze for half a second. That word, sister, cracked through her rage like lightning splitting the sky. And in that heartbeat, sirens wailed. Red and blue lights swept across the pier. SWAT officers flooded in, their shouts echoing. Drop the weapon! Chloe spun, panic flashing across her face. Adam, breath ragged, said hoarsely, It's over, Chloe! Don't do this! I don't need saving, she screamed. I just want them to suffer like I did. A police officer lunged, tackling her to the ground. The gun skidded across the slick dock, clattering into the dark. You'll never be happy, Chloe cried, her voice shattering like broken glass. Never! Olivia dropped to her knees beside Adam, pressing her trembling hands against his wound. Blood spread crimson across the rain-soaked wood. Adam, don't close your eyes. Do you hear me? I'm still here, he murmured, forcing a faint smile, fighting to stay conscious. The police dragged Chloe away. Her footsteps splashed through the puddles as she turned back one last time, eyes swirling with regret and rage. 1:20 a.m. Inside the ambulance, Olivia held Adam's hand tightly. He lay on the stretcher, his shoulder wrapped in white gauze, his breathing steady but weak. I almost lost you before our forever, he whispered, eyes half closed. Tears streamed down her face as she cupped his cheek. No, you didn't lose me. I'm right here. Forever. Outside, rain continued to fall, washing the city in a silver light. Through the ambulance window, the Brooklyn Bridge shimmered in the distance, where tomorrow was supposed to be their wedding day. But for them, love had already survived the bullet, the lies, and the darkness. 1 year later, on the morning paper tucked in the corner of the legal section, a small headline read, Chloe Brooks sentenced to 25 years in state prison for kidnapping and attempted assault. No one read it out loud. Olivia simply folded the newspaper, placed it on the table, and looked out the window. The first sunlight of the day filtered through the oak trees of Cedar Grove, where spring had just begun to paint the branches green again. She stayed quiet for a long while, not out of anger, but because, finally, the storm had passed. Adam walked in, carrying their 8-month-old son, bright-eyed, curious, and unmistakably his father's child. He woke up early, just like his mom, Adam said, smiling. Olivia turned and smiled back at the two of them. She was no longer the girl who once delivered pizza to strangers and made impossible choices in the rain. She was a mother, now a woman who could smile without fearing her past might return to tear it apart. Down on Cedar Grove's main street, a new sign stood gleaming in the sun. Olivia's Light, Coffee and Kindness. It was Adam's birthday gift to her, a small cafe with warm oak tables, glass walls, and the scent of coffee that spilled sweetly into the town square. On opening night, when everyone had gone home, and only the two of them remained, Adam had taken her hand and said quietly, You sold one night to save a life, and gave me a lifetime to love you. Tears shimmered in her eyes. You still remember that? I remember everything that began that night, he replied softly. There are no mistakes, not when they lead me to you. She leaned her head against his shoulder, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, the only music she'd ever need. The next morning, Sophie stood behind the counter, her hair tied high, an apron bearing the cafe's logo wrapped around her waist. She set a cup of latte on the counter and tilted her head playfully. Looks like happy endings do exist. Olivia laughed, shaking her head gently. Not an ending, Soph. Just a new beginning. Outside, more customers began to arrive. The townspeople had grown fond of the woman behind the counter, the one whose calm smile carried warmth and whose eyes made you believe that every wound could heal. By noon, Adam had taken their son home for his nap. Olivia stayed behind to tidy up the cafe. She cracked open a window. A soft breeze drifted through, carrying the scent of roasted coffee mixed with blooming jasmine. On the corner of the table sat a framed photograph. Her in a simple white wedding dress, Adam in a gray suit, his arm wrapped gently around her waist. In the photo, Sophie stood beside them, holding a bouquet and grinning widely. Olivia brushed her fingers lightly against the frame. Sometimes love begins with a mistake, she whispered, closing her eyes, and ends with forever. She no longer wished for perfection nor fairy tales. She only knew this. Somewhere between shadow and light, she had found someone who chose to stay. By late afternoon, sunlight slanted through the cafe windows, scattering golden dust in the air, tiny flecks floating like glitter in the glow. A passerby stopped outside and read the slogan etched beneath the cafe's name. A place where mistakes turn into miracles. The door opened. The bell above it chimed softly. Olivia looked up, smiled, and greeted the customer. A smile that had walked through darkness and still shone as gently as the first dawn after a storm. Outside, the morning sun rose higher, gleaming through the glass panes and reflecting on her face. It felt like life itself was whispering a quiet truth. No mistake is meaningless if it leads you to love. And in Cedar Grove, a new day began with the scent of coffee, the laughter of a child, and a woman who once lost her way, now standing in the light she built for herself.